Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Man, we are just charging full steam ahead through this news cycle this morning. Thanks for coming along with the ride. At 8:05, Brent BOZELL Media Research Center about the Facebook news, but also about that CNN defamation lawsuit. More with him coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock on this Wednesday morning. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
I want you all to know that we're also keeping an eye on those fires in Los Angeles, middle of the night there, but some of the images that we're seeing are absolutely devastating, and it appears that the officials honestly have no solutions at this moment. There's no water, literally, because of bad management of the storms and reservoir retention. There's 100-mile-per-hour Santa Ana winds. The flames continue to engulf the Palisades, the entire region between Santa Monica and Malibu. And we can only pray at this point for those, hopefully, that got out alive. Joining us right now, one of our favorites here in D.C. at the Washington Examiner, he is Byron York. Byron, good morning, sir. Always great to talk with you, and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Mr. O'Connor. Happy New Year to you, too.
By the way, I want you to know that he is the host of the Byron York Show podcast and, of course, chief political correspondent Examiner. I want to make sure I get the title right. That's a big deal. This sentencing that we're about to see from Judge
Washington, as you know.
Yes, it's all about the titles. I know that. I learned the hard way. Byron, the media is going to go nuts on Friday about this sentencing in New York. Judge Merchan insists on going forward 13 days before, not closer than that, 10 days before the inauguration. Can you please briefly remind everybody, because although here is hush money to a porn star, can you remind everybody exactly what this case is about and how extraordinary it was that Alvin Bragg brought these charges at all in the first place?
Yeah, we have to remember that the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, looked into these charges and chose not to bring any charges against President Trump. And the Manhattan District Attorney's Office earlier looked into these charges and decided not to bring any charges against President Trump. But you have to remember, in the elections, the District Attorney of Manhattan is elected. The Attorney General of New York is elected. And in both of those campaigns, the issue was which candidate would, it was a bidding war. Each candidate was pledging to go after Trump harder than the other one. So Alvin Bragg, the District Attorney of Manhattan, finally indicts Trump. And the idea was that when Trump paid off, he paid a non-disclosure agreement, hush money, to Stormy Daniels, this porn actress who says she had a one-night sexual assignation with Trump. So when Trump pays her off, basically his lawyer, Michael Cohen, does it, and then Trump pays the lawyer back. And so the money that paid Michael Cohen back was listed in the Trump company bookkeeping as legal fees because at the time, they only had like 6 categories that you could put expenditures into, and legal fees was one of them, and Michael Cohen was the lawyer, and they put that as legal fees. So Michael Cohen brings this up when he turns against Trump, and Alvin Bragg decides to says, wait a minute, Trump is falsifying corporate records. Every time that he does this, it's a crime. Now, it was a misdemeanor. Okay, it was a misdemeanor, and it was passed. It happened more than 5 years earlier. It was past the statute of limitations. So what to do? Well, if one falsifies business records in the commission of another crime, then it could be a felony, and it would have a longer statute of limitations. Plus, the New York State had extended all statutes of limitations by a year because of COVID. Oh, wow, we could just get in under the deadline and charge Trump with felonies.
Unbelievable.
Which is what Bragg did, and we all knew during the trial that it was just kind of a BS case. But it proceeded, and in the deepest part of, bluest part of Manhattan, Trump was convicted.
Yeah.
So what's your prediction for...
It leaves you speechless. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, no, exactly, Byron.
It does. But Byron, what's your prediction for what will Judge Marchand do?
Okay, well, the thing that has complicated everything is that the defendant has just been elected president of the United States. And that is a matter of fact. If you read, Trump has moved to throw this whole thing out because, as you know, the federal investigations, the Jack Smith investigations, just went away because the Justice Department cannot indict and try the president of the United States. It doesn't work. And so Trump submits this filing with the court in Manhattan, and his argument is the defendant has just been elected president of the United States. This is over. And the judge will not accept that. He says, no, this is so important for the rule of law that you have to have a sentencing. On the other hand, even the prosecutor says, putting him in jail, putting the president of the United States in jail is not really practical. So what are we going to do? Marchand suggested he might do something called unconditional discharge, which is basically say, we sentence you to nothing, but you're guilty and you're a convicted felon, and all the Democrats can say you're a convicted felon in their campaign ads. That might be what he does, although he can do what he wants. I mean, he could send Trump to jail. He could fine him. He could sentence him to community service and say, the president of the United States has to go to a soup kitchen in Washington, once a week or something like that. But the problem is he can't enforce any of it. Trump will be president of the United States, and Judge Marchand, is he going to send the NYPD, down to Washington to march Trump out of there? I mean, he can't enforce any of this. This is all theater at this point.
And Byron, there is an obsessive Inspector Javert type behavior that we see here, not just from the judge and Alvin Bragg, but from those in the media, mostly centered in Manhattan, who just can't get over the fact that Donald Trump won the election despite everything they threw at him. What's your prediction politically about whether this will make an impact? I mean, frankly, at this point, we'd be stupid not to think that this will actually make Trump more popular.
That's exactly what's going to happen. I think that Trump's any gain that Trump gets to this will be in kind of directly proportional to the severity of the sentence. Okay, so if Judge Marchand says, okay, unconditional discharge, the case is over, hopefully you're a good president, and it goes away, I don't think it'll have much of an effect on anything. But if he does try to punish Trump in some way, either with a fine or something, the former Senator Al Franken, who recognizes that Marchand can't enforce any sentence, says that he should sentence Trump to community service, picking up trash by highways for the next 9 days. That is to January 19th of 2025, when the day before Trump becomes president. Anyway, if Marchand actually tries to throw the book of some sort at Trump, it will only make Trump more popular, and it'll make a lot of people think that this is absolutely ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure Al Franken has a good working knowledge of non-disclosure agreements.
He could add a few of them probably, but he was on the Senate Judiciary Committee. So he's an authority in Washington terms.
Yeah, exactly.
Byron, do you have a quick extra minute for us? Because I'd love to ask you about the latest out of the House after last week's extraordinary vote for Speaker. Can you stick with us for a minute?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You're a busy man. All right. Stay with us. 1 quick minute check on the traffic.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We continue with Byron York, Washington Examiner. Byron, it's been widely reported now that when Speaker Johnson looked like he was going to lose on the first ballot with 3 votes for other candidates who were not running, Nancy Mace had Donald Trump's chief of staff on the phone. They pulled 2 of those congressmen aside into a private room. Trump read them the riot act, and they went down and changed their vote. What does that tell you about what Trump is going to, how he's going to address this second term in terms of how he deals with Congress with this slim majority, especially with this reconciliation bill looming? I mean, I found that to be an incredible exercise of power from the executive branch before the man is even sworn in.
Absolutely. Trump, by the way, was on the golf course when he did this, so always working. I think, there have been some sort of legendary speakers of the House who were super powerful because they had all the loyalty of their majority. They had a huge majority and stuff like that. Well, Mike Johnson will be powerful to the degree that he's viewed as having the full support of Donald Trump. And I think Trump saw with such a narrow majority that Johnson had to prevail, and that obviously even a smaller number of knuckleheads could mess everything up than did it in 2023 with Kevin McCarthy when they had 15 ballots to get him to be Speaker of the House. So I think that this was an exercise in power by Trump, who realizes that he's going to have to take a more active role because the majority is so small. And just one to show you what an accomplishment it was. If you go back to January 2021, which was Nancy Pelosi's last election speaker, she had a 6-vote majority and could afford to lose 5 votes and still be elected. And she did. She lost 5 votes. 2 Democrats voted for somebody else, and 3 of them refused to vote at all. And there was a lot of stories about how Nancy Pelosi was really a master power broker in the House because she could get elected with such a narrow majority. Well, Mike Johnson had 1 vote to lose. He could only lose 1 and still get elected, and he did it. And he did it because of the Trump muscle.
Byron, I want to shift over really quickly and get your thoughts on this Jack Smith report that he is desperate to get out there. There's some legal wrangling going on right now to stop the report. But this is Jack Smith just getting sort of his final revenge, isn't it, to politically harm Trump?
Yeah, it is. On the other hand, he's done this big investigation. He was appointed the special counsel. Now, there is some controversy over the legality of his status as a special counsel. The judge in Florida doesn't think he was constitutionally appointed. But the way it works is the special counsel does this investigation, and whether or not he indicts anybody, he gives this report to the Attorney General, who can then decide whether to release it or not. My feeling is it's going to be released. I mean, the Democrats are in control of the Justice Department for the next 10, 12 days, and it'll probably be released, and that's the way the law works. And I don't think it's going to have any, fantastic bombshell news in it.
Yeah.
I think we already know everything that's going on in that.
All right, Byron, I appreciate you joining us as always. You're a busy man, and you're the best person to get into the weeds with. In fact, that's you should rename your what's the name of your newsletter right now? It's a good newsletter. I love it.
It's the Daily Memo, but in the weeds with I don't know. Do you think that would turn people off?
In the weeds with Byron York.
In the weeds.
You could get a sponsorship from some of those cannabis dealers too. It's legal now, so just saying.
Or, Roundup or something like that.
Thank you, Byron.
Thank you. Roundup.
Sorry, you've got that long hair. I figure you're, a Grateful Dead fan, and you do that. All right. Thanks, Byron. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Larry.